We're live. Hey, everybody. Another author panel. This is a good one. These folks are veterans to the whole author panel experience. So, which means we had everything together ahead of time. 100%. No flaws, no
Yeah.
stumbling blocks. No, we're human. We're human. So, we're starting a few minutes after. Totally fine. Best thing to do is to start just creating good content, which is what this is. Without any further delay, let me introduce this week's episode. You built a launch team. People read your book, came to your launch party, posted reviews, shared your book, and spent several weeks engaging with you. Then launch day passes. What happens to all of those relationships? This is where authors can miss one of the biggest business opportunities created through their launch. Just think about what happened. Someone agreed to support your book. They spent time reading about your ideas, learning more about you and the way you offer value in the world. They maybe even attended an event with you or replied to one of your many launch emails. By the end of the launch, some of these people know much, much more about you than they did just a few weeks earlier. Don't let those relationships just disappear because the campaign sequence is over. That doesn't mean you immediately ask everyone to hire you. It means paying attention. Who engaged, who asked questions, who introduced you to someone, who seemed especially interested in your work. Those are the people worth following up personally and without delay. Amazon reviews are just one outcome of a successful launch. The conversations that happen because of your launch can be much more valuable to your business. If you want help creating a launch strategy that generates reviews and creates a pipeline from your book to your business, schedule a complimentary 30-minute book launch brainstorming session at booklaunchbrainstorm.com. And now, let me introduce today's panelists. With us today, we have Dr. Chris L. Johnson, who wrote The Leadership Pause, Sharpen Your Attention, Deepen Your Presence, and Navigate the Future, a book about using intentional pauses to strengthen attention and presence so leaders can respond more effectively to what's happening around them. We also have Dr. Cornelia Kawann, who wrote Change Your Energy, Change Your Life, a personal transformation book focused on understanding and changing your energy to create changes in your life. Diana Morgan is here. She wrote Whole Heart Social Media Success Formula, What to Say, Where to Play, How to Win, a guide to helping business owners approach social media with a clear strategy for what to say, where to show up, and how to use it effectively. Please join me in welcoming Chris, Cornelia, and Diana. Chris, I'm going to go right to you with this first question. I would
Okie
love to
doke.
get some context. Who did you have
Mhm.
in mind as you're writing this book? Who's your ideal reader? And welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, and I'm pleased to be here with you ladies as well. So, when I was writing my book, The Leadership Pause, it was really intended for an audience of kind of mid career and a little bit experienced leaders who ascribe or would describe themselves as conscious leaders. Like they're interested in doing leadership a little bit differently in this day and age. And they get the idea, even if just a little bit, that really, in order to change their work environments to lead more effectively, it's an inner game. So it starts with upgrading their own inner operating system as leaders so they can extend that. And with all my years of mindfulness education and teaching, I really believe that the pause is probably the key to getting started.
What I love is that you've sort of built in the who this is
Mhm.
drawn to because they have a belief for how to show up in the world, but they have to actually show up that way for themselves first.
Yep.
I love the
Mhm.
being congruous is really important in that moment.
Very.
Cornelia, let's go over to you. Who did you have in mind for your book? And welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie, for having me, and really happy to be here and talk with you and Chris. And so, who is my reader in a way? You know what I've noticed. Been from my background, the scientist. I'm in the corporate world, and then noticed that especially women, they're really very stressed. There are a lot of burnouts, and I noticed that in today's world, women have so many roles. They're kind of they have their job, they have their career, they're a mom, they're a spouse, they're a daughter, looking after aging parents, they're in communities for their kids. So I figured out they really need energy to fulfill all these roles. And I noticed with me, so I started experimenting with my own energy, and then people started asking questions. What are you doing differently? You look differently, you talk differently, you even walk differently. And that's how the whole idea, it was just kind of a personal experiment, and then all this energy management movement evolved out of it.
That's awesome. It's very practical because it gives you exact steps to try. I had a fun little moment that I may have shared with you before. I think of myself as like just a little woo, not woo woo. Just I think heart centered would fit, but like And then I'm in my room getting ready for bed, trying one of your exercises. My wife finally looks over and goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know. I can't. This isn't working. I'm trying to get the energy to answer me, but I'm too much of a Virgo to do all this and not woo." And she goes, "You just said you're a Virgo as an answer for why you couldn't do." I'm like, "Okay, noted." Like, all right, fine. Like, I see what has happened here. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't read your book and not stand and try it because I'm like, okay, now I'm really curious. Diana, you're here also to influence people about how to use their words effectively. I'd love to hear about your book and who you had in mind when you were writing it.
Yes, thank you. Great to be here today with you as well, Chris and Cornelia. My book is written for that person who is just really struggling with social media. They weren't born with a mouse in their hand and they're like, just show me what to do. Because it's an evergreen book. In other words, it's a book that is really about understanding the internet. And it's just fundamentals that will help people to really embrace social media. And I talk a lot about intentional social media, which is, it's not just random acts of I've fallen into Facebook and I can't get out. So it's for people who really want to share their message and make a bigger impact and reach more people. And, I say it's for heart-centered women and a few smart men. It's it is the feminine aspect of using social media. It's a spiritual book about social media. And, it's for people who are in alignment with that.
You know what I love is the three of you are here based on your availability on a calendar. And yet already just from what you have said, there's clearly like some overlap in the purpose that you have around your books, your messaging, there's an alignment. All of you want, there's a heart-centeredness, there's an energy piece. So I always find that really interesting. I just ran a program about how to run, like how to host a panel for a podcast. And I'm like, it's not about the over planning. It's about finding those underlying themes that pop up and naming them as they do. So I also know that you've been on this show before and you've talked about some of the things. So I'm going to try to dig in a little deeper. And Diana, I think you talked about it being an evergreen book. So I want to actually talk about that for a second, because your book's not a recent book, but here you are still talking about it. And that is so opposite of what most authors do. Like by year 2, they've moved on. If they even do things for 2 years. So the idea of spending multiple years and like continuing to think about how to market a book and get it to the right hands. Why are you so committed still to like talking about your book? And what could you do to inspire others to like follow in your footsteps? Because I think it's so cool. What year did your book come out, just to give some context?
24.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, this book is, I've been doing this for 20 years. And this book is 17 years of my knowledge about how to really be successful on social media as a human. And the interesting thing is it's becoming more and more relevant with everything coming up with AI and, all these different ways that we can get lost in social media. And so for me, there was so much in that book that I feel like it's just going to be relevant indefinitely. And the other thing, when I wrote it, I had in mind that I was tying it to a website, to my website. So, and I tied it to a product that people could. So in the back of each chapter, there are like 3 take action steps. And then those 3 take action steps send people to my website where they can download like a mini program that has a video and a workbook to take the next step of those 3 action steps. Because I know that with social media, if you don't take action steps, it's pretty much nothing's going to happen.
So you have a whole ecosystem. Like this is
correct.
And that was built before you published the book because you have the links all in there. Okay, I'm gonna come back to how you thought out that because I feel like there's a board somewhere with lots of post-it notes. I can only imagine.
No, it's an Excel spreadsheet, but
It's
close.
a spreadsheet. Okay, so yeah, we all do this differently. So, Chris, I think you've got a bunch of things that you've been working on. You've got a book and you've got a workbook related to the book.
Yeah, I do.
Creating content, creating ecosystem, pieces. How do you think about making sure that you keep bringing your message forward, and how does it fit in with your business? The book that now that you're an author, like it must have changed some of how you approach this.
Yeah. So when I ended up deciding to write the first book, The Leadership Pause, it was really because I was experiencing in my day-to-day working with leaders and executives that this sense of pause was not something that they would do for themselves, and they didn't see the value of it. So I decided that we would go on a tour, and so I wrote the book. Then just recently this spring, you helped me write the companion workbook, so the Leadership Pause Book of Practices. And you were really wonderful on me in terms of like, Chris, you have to like work, like, what are you doing with your next steps? So I've been very consistent in following up with the recent batch of people who signed up to be on my launch team. And then the secondary batch of people who were sort of interested but didn't sign up to do that. And the first time around, I didn't do it as effectively. This second time around, I'm actually a lot more engaged. And like Diana, I have a couple pieces that I've created that are driving the conversations, that are driving the opportunities to go speak. And that are driving actually what I'd like to do. I'm going to show it here because I can. This is the workbook. And what I'd really like to do, and the plan is to get this into the hands of leaders and their teams inside of businesses. And so what I'd really like is to be able to have that happen because it's super valuable. It's very pragmatic. And that's currently the plan. And I'm working it. So thanks to you, Robbie. Appreciate it.
So question for you, Chris. Does your book or your workbook have a guide for someone to follow to lead like a discussion group in a company setting? So that's one of the downloadable resources.
Yeah, that's on the website. So I have a book page, and on the website it has both of the books, but it also has a downloadable form. And actually, it's a 3-4 page PDF that describes how you can use the workbook with your team and what to expect.
That's brilliant. So that's a great example of how to make a book useful for others to engage in, particularly if you imagine it being used in a group setting like that. Cornelia, your book's been out for a little while as well, and when you decided to do this, I don't know that you really fully realized what was in front of you, like how much work went into it. But now that you're on the other side and you have a physical book in front of you and you've been able to call yourself an author, like what are some of the opportunities that have been popping up because of that?
Yeah, here also, discussions with you helped me then. And this is kind of most authors make at the beginning that I think the biggest work is when writing the book. But actually, now we all know it's not. It's kind of, this bring it still to the readers and not only to the readers but also connected with other products, as Diana and Chris already mentioned. And for me, I tied it at that time to a 4 months program where we dove much deeper in the energy, and so the idea was the participants, they came with a problem or a goal they wanted to reach within 6 months or a year, and we kind of worked energetically on all energy blockades, on all the different energy levels, and interestingly enough, working in the group where I shifted much more, and so we really like 80% of the participants then really reached their goals, and so that was a really interesting story how to put it in practice and in a group program.
Wow. Okay. So the fact that all of you have evidence that the book ties back to your business already, to me, puts you in like an upper echelon of thoughtful, strategic authors, because I meet with so many people because I offer these, complimentary calls, and the book's about to be published. I mean, it's formatted. It's the publisher's like telling them it's coming out in a week. and they can't answer those questions. Like it's disconnected in some way. And so whether it's the downloadable material or the marketing plan or creating a new program or having an ongoing program that you're going to use is to like leverage, like having the workbook that leads back to the book, leads to the speaking, consulting. I think that's so strategic and thoughtful. But you have to kind of know a little bit about that. So Cornelia, were you already plugged into like a world of authors when you were doing all this, or how did you start to put the pieces together that the book was going to be related to a larger business?
No, I was not connected to the authors or community, and I think it's very, very valuable. And I'm very grateful that you have this author community now. I think, yeah, at the time when I published the book, you also kind of started out, right, with your Kindle flash sales, and I was participating in the first one. And that's what I kind of realized. You're not alone, and you can learn so much from others, because even if it's a completely different book, I'm always so inspired to you read any book from different perspective, the structure and the ideas, and with downloadable material, how you can even increase the value for the readers. So I'm always so impressed to learn so much from other authors. And I think it's not so much about competition, but it's more to really grow and we all just want to be, generate the highest benefit for the readers, and that's what's so close to our heart. And with these groups now, you're offering this space that we all can learn and grow.
I had someone typing once on one of these podcast panels, and I was like, "We can hear you typing." He goes, "Oh, I was taking notes." I was like, "There will be a replay." Diana, I saw you nodding along while Cornelia was speaking. What was resonating for you?
Just really taking the book to the next level and using it for programs to make a bigger impact, because I was thinking back. So you can see from, if you can see, I have some, I've been in some other multi-author books. And the very first book I was in was called Business Success with Ease. And the chapter was called Blogging Success with Ease. And that's where I kind of started my journey, was in blogging. And it wasn't as evergreen as it could have been, because I didn't even think about it. It's somewhat evergreen still, but it's not really. And the book is not really evergreen. And what I learned from that book and all the subsequent chapters, and including my book, and how many times it just made me so sad to see people put all this effort into a book and get done with the book, and then that's it. And it doesn't lead people anywhere. Because my thing is, I'm going to say something profound right now, is that because I'm a marketing person, right? I've been doing this for 20 years, that even if it's not promotion, whatever we're doing is ultimately walking people down the path to purchase. And maybe it's not even purchase, if that makes you bristle, but it's walking people down the path to take the next step. And so, it doesn't have to be promotional and salesy and icky, but you are walking people down that path. And when I see people put so much effort into these books, and then it's not walking them anywhere, or they're not doing anything else with it, it makes me sad. It really does.
I totally get it, because if you make people aware of a bigger problem but don't offer them a next step for how to solve it, like, they're going to go find somebody else.
Exactly. If they think they can. Exactly.
Right. Years ago, I had a book. My second book is called Small List, Big Results: Launch a Successful Offer no matter the size of your email list. And in the training that I did the talk that related to it, I talked about how if you had someone come to you and every time they kept getting poison ivy, they kept being itchy. They didn't even know what it was. They kept being itchy. And you finally were like, when does this happen? And they basically end up telling you that every time they go in their backyard, they come back with another itchy spot. And you explain to them what might be causing it. And then they have an awareness. And then they go, oh my God, it's everywhere. And now they're looking for ways to solve it on their own. And so they make some timid efforts, but it's not the full solution. And if you don't follow up with, here's the full solution, then they're going to go hire somebody else, because now they don't want to deal with it happening over and over again. Like, that itchy thing is no longer just a symptom. It's something it's much bigger. Cornelia, did you want to jump in?
Yes, I just want to follow up, because when I wrote the book as well, we pour our heart into this book, right? There is everything is in there. And I thought at the beginning as well, there's everything in the book, right? They just can read it and implement it. But then I noticed, and Diana and Chris probably noticed as well, and many other authors, reading about something is not the same than implementing. And if you have somebody who really takes you on the hand and supports you with the implementation, I think this is what really people are looking for. And then, as you said, if you're not stepping in and taking this hand and guiding them, then they go somewhere else. And I think this is especially now we have this transition from the information era, right, where now information is useless, or not useless, but you can get all the information, but it's really about to implement it. This is the new era, and there we need to step in. And just another thing, for implementing, you definitely need a lot of energy.
Yes. Well, and also, I think this is, again, if you want to like future proof, the work that you do in the world, it's be an implementer, be a strategist, like have an opinion, and not just be a bunch of facts and like, data points, because that information is more readily available and more accurate probably from other sources than whatever we kind of remember in our heads. Chris, I want to bring you in because you made the mental decision to write the second book, and it was a companion to your first book. I'm curious how you decide to do that. You pour so much into book one, but then you realized it needed a workbook, and not just like, a 20-page, little book, but like
No.
a book.
It's a book.
The workbook rivals the size of the book, and the book was a decent sized book. So
yes,
these are not like these mini books that people throw around.
No.
So how did you know you were working on such a big project the first time, and did you realize the second time that it was going to become what it became? Like how did you approach this second plan? Because the first time we just don't know what we don't know. We're saying yes to like a project without fully appreciating what's in it.
Yes.
But you went in eyes open the second time. So how do you determine, because talk about energy, you've got so many competing priorities. You're a busy person with a busy business. So
yes,
thoughts on that?
Well, so I wrote the second book because part of my belief, and this will echo maybe what Cornelia is up to, is that so much of our leadership capacity is fueled by good energy or not good energy. And people are constantly looking to us, and we're feeding off of each other for the good or for ill. And so I do a lot of teaching of practices based on my mindfulness educator kind of background. And also all the years I spent practicing Aikido, which is it's a martial art. It's all about energy. So I would give people assignments. And then I found that I was drawing from the book and the work. And then I would make like a PDF. And then it's like, I just need to stop this. And I need to direct all that energy to creating actually a workbook that would allow people to work through, because I hold that practices are really where it's at. Like if we're not practicing, we can't implement anything for very long. Practice is really where it's at. So that's why I did this. And no, I didn't think it would take this long. And no, it ended up being longer than I thought. And yes, I added the audio into it so people could listen and then track, trying to hit everybody's sensory experiences so that however you learn, you have access to this tool, and especially useful in workplaces. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
yeah,
I did not know.
I want to ask you about the audio piece. So the workbook has an audio embed. What's the audio embed from the workbook? Is it from the original book?
It has a QR code that takes you to my website where the audiobook is uploaded in chapters. So you can use the QR code, listen before you do the work in the workbook.
Nice. So they can hear you talking them through. This goes back, Diana, to your earlier point about the difference between giving people a list of steps and creating what does the opportunity look like. So I want to go back. I said I was going to come back to you, Diana, and talk about this whole ecosystem that you built, which I'm sure, like everything else, starts with a checklist, starts with a one-page PDF, and then suddenly you're like, oh, and they need this, and they need this. And like, then you have videos. And like, I think anyone listening should not expect that they're going to have, 30 assets from the jump, right? That's not how it works. But how did you start to approach this And how did you discipline yourself to not publish first? Because I think that's intriguing. People are often rushed to publish and they don't have all this in place. I think it's so awesome that you did.
Oh, I mean, that it would be ridiculous. I'm just saying, it would be ridiculous to publish before I had all that in place, because assuming, droves of people are going to be buying my book and they're going to click on that link and the link doesn't work, so that would be
Or there's like one asset.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So for me, in my business, in my world, I've been doing free trainings. That is one of the ways that I bring people into my world, is I offer free trainings. And like what Cornelia and Chris both said is true, which is no matter how much information I give people, and even if they start to implement it, they're going to have questions and they're going to need ongoing guidance and support. And they're not going to do it. They're going to stop at that point. So my thinking is, all right, like, what's the next thing? What are the next questions they're going to ask? And that's how I created this next gift for people. And then from there, I created a little, like a $7 download. And it basically, I just, before I even wrote the book, I thought of all the steps, and it was like I created a plan. Like, it's like creating a business plan for your book. Yeah. So it's like, where is this book going? And then from there, from the little download, it's going to take them to the next thing, which are my bigger offers and programs. So,
I mean, you say it would be ridiculous to publish because the link wouldn't work, but most people don't even think to put a link. Like, to be honest, like when I bring this up, they go, oh, no, my book doesn't, the publisher didn't mention that, basically. And usually first time authors, I think it's so hard because we're led through a process, or we are DIYing our best effort through a process. We don't know. And this is where, when I was talking to Cornelia about this, like hanging out with other authors is where you start to get a glimpse of other things you could do. Now, you shouldn't do all the things. Like, they're not all for you. You got to have it match you, your energy, your interests, your community, etc. But yeah, like having a way for people to opt into your email list. The latest thing that I developed is actually a resource for my latest book that is not gate kept behind an email that I can announce on podcasts. And it's my Are You Ready to Launch Your Book checklist, which I'll just tell you is available at robbiesamuels.com/launch checklist. And it is not an email opt-in, but it's well branded and it's very clearly part of the rest of the bonus content for the book, which includes like so much, like, timelines and checklists and all this other good stuff. But I think it's like asking too much sometimes of people to like give the email. We all know what happens. You give people their email, like you get a lot of email. So I wanted people to like, get a win. And also I'm thinking it educates them about their need to maybe reach out to me or to figure out when is the right time, because they can like judge for themselves whether they're close or not. So it's an evolution. I didn't think to do that for my first book. I had to like create, out of whole cloth, like what was the bonus content going to look like? I want to shift gears here and do a shout out now. Chris and Cornelia, I feel like I'm tooting my own horn because you both worked with me. But congratulations on your review counts. You're welcome. But congratulations on your review counts. Listen, if it wasn't a good book, it doesn't matter. Whatever I tell you to do does not matter. So for those who are paying attention, there's a difference between global ratings and written reviews on Amazon. And most of us just didn't know that. So when you're looking at a product page for a book, at the very top, there is a hyperlinked number, and that is the number of global ratings. That's the number of people who took the time to leave a 1 through 5 star review. The thing is, they don't have to buy a book or leave a written review in order to leave a 1 through 5 star rating. So they're like not hugely valuable in total. And for a lot of authors, the percentage is like somewhere between 25 and 35% of the number of global ratings is the number of people who wrote a review. That's for I'm thinking of some like big name people that I totally adore and love, but that's just the reality of it because people just aren't in the habit of writing reviews. So even when you have a huge quantity, but here you are, Dr. Chris L. Johnson with 87 global ratings and 76 written reviews, which is a very high percentage from the two, but also 76 is amazing. And we have Dr. Cornelia Kawann has 73 global ratings and 66 customer reviews, which I think is a slight percentage, even higher ratio between the two. Kudos to get dozens of reviews, to be over that 50 review mark, which was the initial goal. And when I look at your recent reviews, they're still coming in. This book is not brand new and there are still reviews. So Chris, and then we'll go to Cornelia. I'd love, how did you even envision the idea that you needed to have reviews? This is for you, Chris, this is your first book, but then you applied the same strategy and a little more structured for your second book, which helped your first book. And I love how it's all kind of coming together for you. But how did you even decide reviews were going to be like an important thing? Right.
I hang out like Cornelia with other authors. I have some really great friends who are also authors, so I was kind of onto that. I'd written book reviews before. We probably all read books here, so it's like, and we got to help each other out here. So let's just get going. So I knew that having reviews was important. I knew that having verified reviews was really important, not just somebody writing something, but somebody who actually read the book or at least a part of it and purchased it. So I have, with your support and my practice, I now regularly ask people like, hey, I'd love to see you write a review. What do you think? Can you do this for me? And following up with people who've already, some of the people on the launch team actually didn't complete their reviews like they said they would. So instead of making them feel bad, it's more just like, hey, it gives me a point to chat with you. And are you still up for doing that? So all of those things have helped, and I am not stopping. So I'll continue to do it moving forward.
Right. Especially if people like send you an email saying a nice thing or tell you about a nice thing. Yeah. It's like, we got to just quickly say, oh, love to see a review. Cornelia, you and I, it's interesting because my process has evolved so much since you and I worked together in your book. You're one of the earliest people that I formally worked with in this capacity, started building out a process. And I will admit your review count should actually be higher. And this is because where you live, fewer people, and you don't live in the United States, you're living overseas, and fewer people in your region are as heavily dependent on Amazon as people in the United States. And you have to spend $50 minimum in the last 12 months on an account in order to leave a review. And you ran into the issue of people were giving you the reviews through the Google form, like based on the advanced reader copy, but not all of them were able to get up. So you actually built relationships, had them redirect the reviews in other places. But at the moment, it felt like, oh no, and then it all worked out because look at you still have like 5 dozen plus reviews. So Cornelia, how did you approach this, and how is it you're still getting reviews all this time later?
Yeah, I remember really that I was kind of so disappointed that because I thought, yeah, all these people, they read the book, they want to give a review, and then they just couldn't. And you helped me a lot to channel them to Goodreads, and some of them are put on my webpage. But I just noticed now that having more readers in the US is helpful to increase your reviews. And here it's also good to be part of your Kindle flashes, and in a way I noticed also with my work, you get more recommendations, more people read your books, and as Chris said before, then you all of a sudden you get emails from people in Ukraine or Singapore or San Francisco, and they said, I read your book, and even they wanted to work with me. So things evolve from so I think this is a fascinating thing in a way about the book. It's kind of out there, and even if it's still connected to you, it has its own life, right? In meeting different people, because you never know who buys it, and you don't get in contact with all of your of the readers unless they come back to you or connect with your webpage. And I think this is always kind of the magic about it, when sometimes you get the feedback you don't even expect, and I think that's the main reason probably we write these books.
Yeah, and I think it's lovely that you're getting more of these organic reviews as well, because when you have lots of reviews, people are more likely to then leave reviews without like all the prompting that's needed initially, because they feel like they're part of a movement or a community around a cause and a mission. You were making me think of the fact that my first book is called Croissants versus Bagels: Strategic, Effective, and Inclusive Networking at Conferences. And it's about a networking technique that I became really well known for. And every now and again, like I would say at least once every other month, somebody tags me on LinkedIn because a presenter at some conference somewhere, like one time it was Germany, had a like PowerPoint slide of a croissant and a bagel, and someone in the audience thought it was such a clever point. They took a picture and they did an entire LinkedIn post about it. And then someone who knew me saw that and said, yes, that's something that Robbie came up with. And then I pop in and I go, oh, I love that you heard about this. Hey, here are some other resources. And it's like, I don't talk about this regularly, but it's like connected to me. And yet it's like you said, it's out in the world and you just don't know these concepts. Like it's wonderful. It's very cool. And it's one of the reasons I think if you're thinking about writing a book or you're in the process of writing a book, get in the habit of leaving reviews because it'll make you feel a lot better asking, but also good energy, right? You want to put that out into the world and fill that cup and like make it seem easy to do because you've done it. Like you'll feel better about asking, and you'll also have a sense of what you're asking of people, but you'll be giving something to that content creator. I think that's really incredible. Dinah, I want to ask your opinion about the Kindle flash sale because you're the marketing person here in the room. And, I don't overtly bang people's heads about like the fact that this is basically a little marketing course. Like when they sign up, they kind of, oh, what? I have to do all these things? And I'm like, yes, in fact. I mean, you could choose like your mileage may vary, but I am telling you to do some marketing. You come to it with a different spirit around that. But how do you think about the Kindle flash sale in relation to all your other marketing ideas? Why should someone lower their book to 99 cents to do this cross promotion? Like what is the uptake of doing this kind of activity?
Well, I do come to it from a different perspective, which is why you didn't call on me about the reviews. Because I don't have a lot, and I don't trip about it because that's not a big thing for me. I mean, I think it's fantastic, but I have to say that I have gotten so many opportunities from my book, and I post about my book on social media every week. I get speaking opportunities. There's not a week that goes by that somebody doesn't tell me that they told somebody else to buy my book. I know I could and should and all that about doing reviews, but it's sort of like it just feels like one more thing for me. And so that being said, the Kindle flash sale for me, I look at it as like a relaunch of my book every time we do this flash sale. And it is definitely a little marketing course. And there is a lot to do, but it's like, even like the carousel on your LinkedIn and all the graphics that you do and on our LinkedIn and all the graphics. And, it infuses energy. And, I also believe everything is energy, and social media is energy, and our books are energy. So our book is a way for us to transmit ourselves onto social media, onto the internet, wherever, as close to meeting us in person as it is possible. And so by doing this continuous bringing the book out again, and the price thing for me is also not something that I worry about, because I mean, I don't have this plan to make a massive amount of money from my book, from the sale of my book. I have my vision is to create influence and opportunities and sell the bigger picture of what I do with my book. So the flash sale is just a way to re-up that 3 or 4 times a year, however many times we do it.
Yeah, 3 times a year. The Kindle flash sale happens around Cyber Monday, somewhere in April and again in July. And folks can join the wait list anytime throughout the year, or maybe they'll happen upon one of the campaigns. And then they'll get access to all these discounted books. But you can go to kindleflashsale.com to join that wait list if you're able to lower your Kindle book to 99 cents. And I like the idea of it being a mini relaunch, right? It's a little like
That's
focused
nice.
effort, and that way it doesn't just like fade. Particularly as you have newer books coming out, I think that's the other thing is like then that's your baby, like that's your new precious little one, and then slowly the other ones just like stay on the shelf gathering digital dust, and you're like no, like they're still useful. Cornelia, I'm curious about how do you get your book out into the world besides Kindle flash sales? Have you been gifting it or like participating in other summits or groups? Like how do you help people find you? Because I feel like the people who are your people are going to be so happy when they learn you exist. But then how do you find that market for the book? Because it's got a particular message.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. And the way I market it in a way is that I speak a lot at podcasts. Like last year, well, I think about every second week I was at a different podcast. So you get the chance to, of course, I don't only speak explicitly about the book, but about my work. And most of the time I have the possibility and chance to show my book or mention it so that people can know they can start to get more about me for my books. And the second channel I'm using is at my speaking opportunities. So I'm speaking at summits, at conferences, and there you always, anyway, people get to know you, and then you can always point out, yes, I have a book. It gives you the standing of an expert in a way. And it's very helpful, opens different doors, and you always have something in a way to show and give also to people.
I love it. Chris, I'm going to come to you with a slightly tweak on this question, which is
Okay.
how do you move lots of books at once into people's hands? Like, whether it's free or whether your bulk orders, like when you, is there a volume game? Because I know you're a speaker and you're coaching, and like, is there some way that you're getting like 20 or more books out at a clip?
I'm not doing that as much as I hope to do. But what I can say is I have a couple of key clients that on the regular, they get books from me and dispense them through their organization. So that's pretty cool. And then with the workbook, I have taken to gifting it as a way of saying thank you to those initial conversations because it's a paperback. It's easier to do and I can send it directly to them. So that's another way. And then speaking engagements, usually bringing a handful of them to not only hold, but to say, hey, I have a few here, give those away, etc. So,
yeah, I've been bringing copies of my books to conferences because I had all these books before the pandemic. I had this big, speak all over the world kind of plan. you know that plan. And then I'm like, God, this closet is just really full. Oh, look, it's boxes of books. And I'm like, it's not doing anyone any good. So I just started taking handfuls of books with me and finding the right person. And like, people are so grateful. They come to your session, or even if you're just like meeting over lunch and you're like, pull one out of your bag and you're gifted to them. It's like such a connection. And I think that person's more likely to also read it because you gave it to them for a reason. Like that's not just a random gift to someone. And it was assigned to them because somebody needed this book. So these are all the things that if you don't have a book, you don't have the ability to do. I mean, it's like you can't even imagine all the possibilities until the book's in your hands. As we wrap up here, I'd love to just hear how people can find you and follow your work. Let's start with you, Chris, and then Cornelia. What are the ways people can find you?
Well, it's the best way social media wise is to go connect with me over on LinkedIn. So it's Chris L. Johnson. There's a whole bunch of Chris Johnsons, and maybe you want to meet all them too. But if you want to meet me, throw the L in there. That's pretty cool. And then you can go over on my website, which is q4-consulting.com, and go ahead and download that free downloadable piece for using my workbook with teams, for example. Take a look, see if you like it, ask me questions.
Brilliant. Cornelia, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm also active on LinkedIn with Cornelia Energy On. There is also a Cornelia Kawann, and this is my corporate profile because I'm still in the corporate world and have my own business profile. And then, of course, all the information about my books. I have several journals, also children books. You can find on corneliakawann.com. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hear from some of other authors and to connect.
I love it. Diana, how about you? How can people find you?
On social media, Diana Konkoff Morgan, and also my business Whole Heart Marketing, which is on my business pages and also my website, wholeheartmarketing.com. And feel free to sign up for my free training. I would love to have you there and get to know you.
I love it. So all these links are going to be in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com. You'll also find all the archived episodes. We have hundreds of episodes for you to dig through. You'll also see a curated directory of experts who will support you wherever you are on your author journey, writing, editing, publishing, launching, and marketing your book. We have free virtual networking events. We've got our Kindle flash sales and so much more. Check it all out at bizbookpubhub.com. And panel, again, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robbie. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Mhm.